here Ramezani.
So Serafima, when it starts in YouTube, it starts. Hello and welcome to an amazing live. I'm glad to have you all here, and we have already some people waiting for us, so it's great. So I'm very excited about this live because today we're going to be talking about one of my passions, that is growth hacking, gamification, blockchain, artificial intelligence, and NFTs. So this is a lot of stuff, but we're going to try to do it with all the experts that we have in this panel and with all people that we are excited to have here. So I would like firstly to welcome everyone to another live of Dinis Guarda, the Cities ABC Open Business Council Summit. And in this case, this is actually the last live before our next event next week. That is going to be our biggest event so far, with 120 speakers from all over the world, including an astronaut, Stuart Parazinski, including the Deputy Minister of Digital Transformation of Ukraine, and a lot of leading personalities in the world. So that will be the 20th, the 21st, and the 22nd of April, and they will be live on my YouTube channel and a lot of others all over the world. So today in this live, like I mentioned, I'm very excited to welcome global experts that understand a lot of these things, but as well I've been building a lot of things in the areas of growth hacking, gamification, blockchain, AI, and NFTs. And I will first of all present my special guests, which I'm very, very excited to have here. So we have, let's start probably by the list of people here. It's difficult. I'm not going probably by alphabetic order, but we have people from all over the world. So I'll start probably with Giacomo Arcaro. That is, he has a bit. Hello, Giacomo. He's joining us from New York, and is as well Italian, but Italian American, but has been working growth hacking and digital in influence marketing, and then all the areas of blockchain and specific areas how blockchain merged with crypto, and a lot of campaigns for big companies and organizations worldwide. Then we have Charlie Hu. Thank you so much, Charlie, for making it. I know that is very late for you, joining us from China. And Charlie Hu has a huge amount of different ads. And of course, everyone will present themselves, but Charlie is leading Carbon Blue Ventures in China and worldwide. And he's been as well working with Tezos and Polkadot. And he's as well an investor and a serial entrepreneur working in a lot of different areas. Then, of course, Thaha, that is the Chief Strategy Officer of Accubits. That is a company, global tech company with office between the US and Middle East, that has been building some of the leading solutions for blockchain, like the blockchain land registration for Dubai. And at the moment is building a very fantastic NFT platform that you're going to be talking about that. And as well has been leading a lot of research on these areas. Then as well joining us, and it's actually joining us from Middle East, Dubai. And then we have Parham Ramezani as well joining us from Dubai, that is leading a company called, multiple companies, but probably the most well-known is A-List. That is an influencer platform that joins some of the most powerful influencers in the area of Middle East. And last but not least, we have Pelumi Oyetimehin, that is joining us from Africa, from Nigeria, and he is the leader of a platform of digital influencers and experts called DigiClan, that has been building a lot of things. I hope his internet connection will work. He still doesn't have the video, but let's see. And of course, last but not least, Noah Kalson, joining us from Israel, Tel Aviv. And Noah is a digital marketeer that has been actually behind the scenes, but I think it's particularly important for this topic because a lot of people behind the scenes are the ones that build the biggest things when it comes to marketing, when it comes to digital footprint worldwide. And he's been working, bridging a lot of areas of digital for big corporations, for financial organizations, and lately as well for a lot of blockchain and digital platforms. So I'm very excited to have you all here. I'll just talk about a couple of notes before we go present each other and kick off. I think some of my notes that I want to touch is, okay, so when you talk about growth hacking, gamification, blockchain, AI, and NFTs, we think like, okay, this is almost everything that is happening on technology. But these things are all working together more and more. So growth hacking, because at the moment, marketing is more and more about growth hacking. So growth the number of followers, growth the number of campaigns, growth the data that you have to manage the data and so forth. And hacking in the sense of hacking ethically, among many things, but understanding as well how to scale things. The gamification is critical because at the moment, as we use gamifying systems coming mostly from gaming to apply to business, to campaigns, we have to work more on rewards, campaign strategies that can engage people, and finding both digital ways of engaging people, but as well ways of rewarding influencers and all the different things. Blockchain, of course, it's critical because this is the internet of trust, in the words of Don Scott, and blockchain brings a layer of capacity of looking at a layer of certification for a lot of things. In the book of Don Scott, the blockchain revolution, is that we don't know if behind any bot or any mail that you receive, dog or a bot. And I think here in the point is that blockchain is becoming more and more mainstream now, not just on crypto, but as well as a technology that can enable certification for marketing, certification for influencers, certification for a lot of other things. Artificial intelligence, critical, because everything is becoming artificial intelligence driven or special machine learning driven from data, which is its inception, and as well from the data, we can actually get insights and starting to create a lot of different interactions with people, with marketeers and so forth. And last but not least, NFTs. So NFTs is right now, of course, one of the biggest buzzwords in the planet, is actually becoming bigger in terms of Google searches than ICOs. And NFTs is particularly important as a concept that brings a layer of credibility and as well a product that is easier to use by almost anyone to create digital products, to sell digital products. At the moment, the NFT market worldwide is raising to $400 million in the last couple of months. There was a sale of $60 million by Beeple, actually over $60 million. And it's not just about the hype. Of course, the sales will not grow and crazy. There might be crashes, but the concept of NFT proves that blockchain can create products that can actually reward musicians, artists, filmmakers, but create as well collectives, digital, and a lot of other solutions. And I think that's what you're going to be talking on this conference. So the idea is that we have a centralized society that is right now working with decentralized systems and that is working with all of these at the same time. And I think any business in the planet cannot work without having this in mind. So I think the problem is that most of them have no conscience about this. And of course, the companies that are strong on this will be the ones that will be more successful. So after my introduction, I want to pass the word to our esteemed and illustrious guests. I know that Giacomo in particular has limited time, so I will kick off with him. So Giacomo, as someone that has been working in, first of all, I would like for you to introduce yourself. And then my kickoff question is going to be about how do you see these areas of growth hacking and gamification, especially in your work as an influencer, but as well working with companies, advising a lot of organizations, and making bridges between different areas. So pass the word to you.
Yeah. So hi everyone. Thank you so much, Dinis, to have invited me. I've been working last 15 years within the marketing space and growth hacking by helping companies in Italy, in Europe, growing their fan base, the users. And then one day, a guy came into my office. It was 2017 by telling me, "Oh, Giacomo, I got an idea. I want to create my token. So I need your help by growing the token. I will pay you with my tokens." And I said, "What the fuck? What the hell is the token?" "Oh, come on, you gotta trust me." Okay, I sent this guy out of my office, and it was the day I lost $10 million. So I took my car. In Italy, we have the Smart. It's a car, two seats, really short car. And I went to Lugano, and I saw the explosion of the ICO. It was September 2017. So I I put my whole investment into it. I switched my company from being a normal company into a crypto company by helping ICOs, and then, bam, everything crashed down. So I lost everything, and with everything I mean really, really everything. But now, now I am a neighbor of Donald Trump, and thanks to Ethereum, we are all here. I think everyone involved into this conversation. So growth hacking is really helping this war, especially because we are the one that create community on Telegram, that creates the buzz on Reddit. People like me, like growth hacking into the blockchain space, everyone with a channel, with followers, with a community like you, Dinis. You have spent a lot of time, I think, by understanding the YouTube algorithm. That's why you have a lot of followers and a lot of views. You are spending your time by better understand how does it works to get more people engaged. To if someone will drop a comment within the 6 hours, your video will go up. If people is keep on pushing like in the 12 hours after your video are going to be viewed, and you're going to be showed in the homepage of YouTube. So everyone of us is working within this space. It's a growth hacker, and I personally apply the growth hacking into life as well, which is called life hacks. So how to find this apartment for the lower price, how to be visible on the web every day, how to create a story worth to be told about about your company, about what you are and what you're doing. So growth hacking is taking your life entirely, and it'll help you to be more wealth and to have more time for yourself.
Fantastic. And I think it's a good point, because growth hacking touches all areas of life. And I think biohacking is right now a big thing. That it would be another live. But I think it's a very interesting thing. So I want to pass to, let's go right now to Charlie. So Charlie, you've been as well touching a lot of different areas, because of course, as someone that been doing the technology investment and on areas, you have a lot of heads. So you want to just give a bit of introduction about you, what you've been doing, and as well, how do you see these areas of growth hacking?
Sure. Thank you very much, Dinis. Thank you for the opportunity to let me share some experience. I do actually have some experience with growth hacking, but I actually, before I talk about my, share insights about that, in the last 3 years, I've been actually, very busy on helping international projects entering the ecosystem, building the ecosystem of Polkadot as one of the leading Web3 interoperable network, and help them cross the bridge between China and Germany. Actually connecting a lot of dots between the developer teams, between the ecosystem projects, and with exchanges, with investment groups, and so on. I think that's not really the growth hacking in terms of a lot of digital marketeer, the way of doing on that. But I think it's about building meaningful connections, and building meaningful partnerships. My understanding of growth hacking, I think, all the way from 2012, when I was in Amsterdam, working in the accelerator called Rockstart. I think that was about the time people start to realize there's some kind of tactical tools you can use to track the traffic, and people has to do more data-driven marketing, right? In the crypto space, it's actually kind of lacking. I think the people who are able to understand who are the people, behind the scene, and actually from the other side of the wallet address, are able to actually purchasing the token, and actually engaging with the real product with the protocol, can get really unique insight. If any entrepreneurs or blockchain founders have a system to systemize the user flow, to really improve the the user acquisition funnel, and we have this kind of user acquisition conversion, right? That's really interesting, and actually find a way to have a really meaningful, engaging community. I think at the end of the day, I think a lot of people, when they look at growth hacking, it's kind of just about bring people's attention, click to some conversion landing page, and receive, bring them to some kind of destination page, right? I feel that's not really the goal of that whole thing. The whole point is actually finding the meaning, sending out meaningful messages to your target audience that make them engage and wants to retain, right? And one of the real important word, in my opinion, for growth hacking is retention. The people who actually have the loyalty, who love the product, who like the concept, and who wants to stay within the community for a long run, right? For me, the fact I'm really a strong believer of Web3, about the kind of the interoperable networks to enable a lot of blockchain applications. That helps me not only build my reputation in the space, but also build a meaningful collaboration and relationship with all kinds of people. And on the other hand, actually bring really interesting financial results, right? We, in the investment of Polkadot, we did almost 150x, right, in the last 3 years. It's a pretty exponential growth. The reason to achieve that is really the meaningful engagement with the community. So that's the result of the whole growth marketing. And it's not just to have kind of sneaky tools and tactics to get people's attention. And the attention span in the space is very very short, right? And you how to engage them in the long term. I think that's a really important message. I think that's kind of my experience in the last couple of years, and my take on the growth hacking.
No, very good point, and I think you're right, because I think if you look at, especially in the crypto space, all the major, there's close to 10,000 tokens, but a huge part of these tokens, the ones that really become very successful, are the ones that can actually keep their communities very active. And the engagement is key, but as well as the way you create these communities, both on social media, but both as well in Telegram, like Giacomo mentioned. And I think this is an art in itself, and is a growth hacking that complements the way you engage, the way you create these relationships. And that brings me to you, Noah. So Noah, you've been in digital marketing for a long time, and you've been working in big campaigns with big organizations. So what's your take on this, especially someone that is more behind the cameras, but as well they've been working in a lot of big campaigns, a lot of big projects with big budgets and small and a lot of different things?
Okay, so thanks for the introduction. I've been working in digital marketing for about 15 years now. And we've seen a lot of things happen over time. My focus has generally been in organic marketing, which is fantastic because organic marketing deals with communities, with the people behind your audience. Whereas with paid advertising, we're generally working on a process where you pay for your click, the user arrives on your landing page, and then you hope for the sale. Growth hacking is very different, and it ties back into the organic method of promotion. The main idea is there's a person. You have to find your audience. There are 3 levels of growth hacking that I see. First one is people. Who are you talking to? Where can you find them? And what's the best way to approach them? The second point that we touch base on is technology. As Giacomo mentioned before, with regards to the YouTube algorithm, understanding when your YouTube live can peak and jumping in exactly at that point, that will get you more users. And the third is the place where your audience will be, and how to find them in that spot. Now, as time has gone by, people aren't just searching for queries, especially in the crypto niche. There's a very, very big audience, but not everybody knows what they want. Not everybody knows how to invest in crypto. Not very many people know how Bitcoin works. And NFTs, especially now moving into a new area, which is, you could say it's a virgin area for a lot of people who are looking to invest. There's a big gap between what people need to know in order to take the next step. With regards to marketing, I think one of the areas that people and companies should be focusing on at the moment is getting in front of their audience and educating them. It does, depending on which audience you're looking for, whether they're beginners who are looking to make a small investment, whether it's in a token or whether it's in an NFT, or somebody who's looking to invest in a company and make a larger investment in an IPO, for example. They need to be educated properly, understand what the process is, and based on that information provided by the company, they'll be able to take the next steps. We also wanted to talk a little bit of gamification and rewards. With regards to the next steps, there are always ways to help the user take another step forward. For example, when they land on your landing page, let them know what the next steps are within the funnel. Whether they can get a point or a discount, or even revenue share with a friend if they make a deposit or purchase token. Those are all ways to help your user move forward.
Yeah, and I think this is actually, you touch some of the areas that are critical, because there's technology, there's all the setup of the technology and the people first, because it's about that. So I want to go to touch precisely in this area. So Parham, you are working with influencer marketing, and you have a big agency that is growing on this direction, and you work with a lot of influencers. So influencer marketing is critical because, for instance, right now, if you look at multi-billion-dollar companies, they are dependent more and more of Hollywood stars, Bollywood stars, but as well of influencers, especially in fashion and music and so forth. And this makes a big difference. And as well, ironically, on the blockchain industry and crypto, an influencer can make a big difference to bring initially different funding, and some of them are paid gold. But there's a huge market around this. And I would say that internet is coming from a Google, Facebook-driven advertisement to become an influencer marketing advertisement. So what's your take on this, and as well a bit to talk about what you're doing on these areas?
Sure, thank you, Dinis. It's actually a very interesting topic. With A-List, we really try to help people with their growth hacking, but before I get into that of what we try to do in terms of in the field of influencer marketing, I really want to get into the definition of growth hacking in different fields. Well, this could be in crypto field, or it could be on traditional businesses or businesses with that are offering ICOs. Well, the definition of growth hacking isn't really that easy to nail down these days, because it's also a sentence that is a word that is used very, very widely. But to me, growth hacking is just rapidly experiencing with different marketing tactics, advertisement efforts, UI funnels like we were discussing to make decisions accordingly, and other tasks to really quickly try to convert leads to generate sales. More importantly, when it comes to growth hacking, it's really less important these days to take it into consideration that what are the costs against all these tactics and analysis. That is really related, and it's all about how fast you really can get that growth, especially when it comes to new companies. It could be anything in the crypto base or startups. You really don't have the budget that you can plan for and spend. So there's a common misconception that growth hackers behind these are marketeers. Well, in reality, in my opinion, many marketeers don't have the mindset necessary to hack growth, and they really want to cut expenses and focus on conversions and conduct long-term experiences. Those are not really vital to growth hacking, if you know what I mean. So in our opinion, before we really got into it, A-List is for people if they wanted to do growth hacking. It was really prioritizing the growth over all other metrics instead of focusing on specific metrics like attempts to grow the audiences or etc. Especially with what's happening and what's upcoming with all the ads not being really targeted into people and into the right audiences anymore. As we all know what's happening with Facebook, who's behind most of the social media platforms. We really believed the next phase for growth hacking would be social media. But again, who is the right target for your business? Who is the right influencer? Is it the one that get the most views, or is it the one that has the most trust amongst people? So we built a platform, what we call that A-List, because we wanted to get the most niche influencers out there. But again, it's not the easiest. I'm sure that you guys have tried it, and it's not the easiest thing to get into a reputable influencer, or for an influencer to reach the target business that they could actually help, because there is so many mediatory in between. There's so many contracts in place. So we built a platform being able to connect these two people behind the business and the influencer within one platform, And we used a decent amount of AI and machine learning for about 6 to 7 months, being able to connect the correct businesses into the target audience by having the influencers that have the following that are interested within that business, because there's thousands of businesses interested in thousands of influencers as per se, but really which ones are beneficial, and do you really just choose a person and hope for the best, or do you really want to go bulk and hit as many people within the target audience that you think that's going to work, and hopefully within a platform that you can get the deliverables, because if influencer these days are people that have really large number of following. So if they don't deliver on what you have asked for, what is it that you're gonna do? Swan influencer, not really. So you really want to go with the largest number of people that you can, not just hoping that it will bring results, but large enough of a number that can actually achieve results in a really short matter of time. And that's what we really call growth hacking in the field of social media influencer marketing.
Yeah, and I think this is actually, you touch probably the most important thing, is that how do you get this balance between the technology, the people, the community, and as well the vertical and what you're trying to achieve. And this is critical, because if you look at, I would say most of the platforms worldwide and business worldwide, their success is not so much about the technology anymore. It's much more about the relationships and the communities that you create. So Pelumi, I think we still don't have your video, but I will try. I'm sure the sound is okay. So Pelumi, you are behind the platform growing in Africa, that is DigiClan, and you've been working and building that platform, which is in a continent that has a huge young population, and you're trying to build that ecosystem around digital marketeers and people that are trying to find solutions on this area. So can you tell us about your work on this area of building and growth hacking, both in Africa, in Nigeria, but as well the work with DigiClan?
Okay. Hi everyone. My name is Pelumi. I think over the past few years, we've been working within DigiClan to get people who are interested in digital marketing on board, and it's not for a continent as diverse as Africa is. You realize that what works in Nigeria, for example, doesn't work in Vietnam, what works in Ghana doesn't work in Kenya. So in ensuring that, as much as possible, we get many people on board, we have chapters in all of these countries. Now, with respect to growth hacking generally, essentially what thing that we've tried to do is look at the different interesting ways that we can appeal to people to come on board the platform. And as much as possible, we think of DigiClan as a community rather than just another platform, because at the end of the day, we want to interact with each other across the divides to ensure that everybody within the community has a sense of feels a sense of belonging. One of our goals with DigiClan is for people, wherever they are, who are members of DigiClan, to be able to beat the chest and say, "Oh, I am very good at what I do within the clan. The clan has helped me grow within my career." And as for employers to be able to say, when you come across a member of DigiClan, you can guarantee that the person 100% knows exactly what they're saying and talking about. So far, we're in about 5 countries in Africa and over 6,000 members across the continent and counting.
Fantastic, and congratulations for that. So I think, well, building these communities for me is the most important thing when it comes to business, when it comes to solutions, but as well, all these areas, we cannot do it without having these people involved. So last but not least, Shamir. So Shamir, you've been involved in hardcore massive projects that involve the likes of government, the likes of multiple organizations like NASA and so forth, but you have as well right now start working in NFTs. So NFTs are really the next big thing, or the short-term big thing. So can you tell us about the work you've been doing both in blockchain technology as well in these areas of both as a technologist but as well as a strategist, and some of the things that you want to share with us, especially when it comes to NFTs and what you're trying to do on these areas?
Sure. So first of all, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. And thank you, Dinis, for having me on this platform. just by way of introduction, I'm the Chief Strategy Officer for Accubits. We're an award-winning leader in digital transformation based on emerging tech, mainly around artificial intelligence and blockchain. So, one of the interesting things is that I've personally overseen some of the digital transformation projects, both in, large enterprises as well as with federal governments. Now, Accubits, because of our work in the AI and the blockchain space, we've had the privilege to work with some notable clients such as NASA, USPS, Smart Dubai, JP Morgan Chase, and many more. And one of the interesting things is, when we speak about growth hacking, gamification, it's not just a startup phenomenon. I mean, even larger enterprises, be it banking or fintech organizations, have started looking at how you can actually implement some of these methodologies to actually increase adoption and increase the scale at which they operate. Even some of the very interesting projects that we've been involved with very recently, which is a pandemic management system, which is already launched with the government of Cameroon. We're looking at how we can actually increase the adoption and make more and more people use the platform and use it. So these are some things that are being looked at. I mean, I think the fellow panelists rightly pointed out that the word growth hacking is very loosely used today. It can be interpreted in many ways, and it's very interesting to know that a lot of these technologies that we use today, be it machine learning or artificial intelligence, can actually be used to identify the right persona, the right kind of audience that you want to target, and figure out what is the propensity that they would make a purchase or be hooked to your platform, and identify what are the niche areas that you need to tweak within your platform as well. So just on that point, with sorry, there's a lot of background noise. I'm not sure if it's just me. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, now it's better. I think it was someone. Yeah.
Yeah. So just on the whole hype cycle of when the Bitcoin came about, and with every single disruption that has been happening, we've also been witnessing a huge increase in demand for NFTs, as we spoke about. So NFTs are the rage right now, and it's very interesting to see what's happening in the space. So we've seen everything from digital art, music, even trading cards, all going digital, and people tokenizing and putting them online. So along with it comes a range of different challenges as well. So the prediction obviously is that this is just like the ICO cycle. We will probably see things dwindle down in another 12 to 18 months. We're hearing a lot of new marketplaces come about. There's definitely a lot of different platforms out there. There's going to be a huge spurt of NFT assets, be it physical art, digital art. The question is, how do you create value? And that's really where we need to start thinking about growth hacking, and how do you actually gamify users to get onto the platform and keep using the platform. The key or the success in the NFTs, or the real value in NFTs, is really in the royalty. It's not about just getting a one-time sale, and that's where the real success story behind NFTs are. So I think it's going to be disruptive for a lot of industries, be it the music industry, the publishing industry as well. I mean, if you think about it, there's no real reason why large publishers need to publish college books anymore. I mean, if you look at some of these institutes, you can buy them off the second market and get a resale value. The same concept applies in the NFT space. I wouldn't be surprised if in a few years you would have published books being launched with an NFT back to it. You don't even need to have a book publishing deal. You can basically think about publishing something with an NFT, put it up online, and even have a massive secondary sale, after sale market for it as well. So I think we're really at the cusp of actually exploring what the NFTs can do. It's really not actually identified right now. I think we're still yet to figure out where NFTs can really play a key role. I think it's going to disrupt a lot of industries as we speak about. So we've been working on some very interesting concepts where we can fractionalize ownerships. We're talking about virtual lands. We're talking about music, physical art. We're enabling basically, a very democratized ownership of, highly priced possessions such as single use or single pieces of art, or, very unique pieces of art. So that's really where we are at right now.
No, I understand completely. So I think it's like you mentioned, this as well is the first time I think that blockchain in particular becomes mainstream, and we are just in the beginning. So Giacomo, I know that you need to leave. So just one question for you. So you were in the last wave with the ICOs. This is actually probably a bigger wave in a lot of ways than ICOs, because even in the ICOs, there was a lot of restrictions and a lot of people, although it became multi-billion dollars wave, in here, this is touching the biggest personalities in the world. We have from Weekend to Kings of Lion. We have Hollywood stars right now starting to do NFTs. And this, of course, is creating a lot of variability, because some of these platforms, for instance, in the case of Nifty Gateway, which is as well a lot of things, a platform that works a lot of growth hacking and things like that, they are right now working with Sotheby's. We have Christie's officially right now coming as well to NFTs. So this is becoming really mainstream. It's not small organizations like in the ICOs, was always a bit like in the edge.
Yeah.
Now we're talking about the biggest organizations. So I would like to see how you see this wave, and as well how we're going to be seeing this, because this is going to be accelerate, like I think everyone mentioned, but I think Shamir, you touched that. It's going to disrupt the way we do digital, and even Google and Facebook, because in the end of the day, Google and Facebook have the monopoly with these platforms that we have here. But at the same time, as kind of different areas start exploding, a lot of things are going to be appearing and happening. So I want to hear your last probably inputs on that.
Yeah, so Dinis, you touched on a really interesting point by mixing the gamification, growth hacking, NFT, and blockchain decentralization, because what is happening right now, apart from that we are going to be richer, apart from that, which is okay, I'm good with that, but what is going to happen is that we are going to be decentralized. So every dot is being connected to each other, because the artist that wants to go out with his album on songs, they no longer have to pass through that middleman. Like we surpasses that with Bitcoin, Ethereum, and they're going to surpass them with by using NFTs. So they will be the owner of their destiny. They will get back the ownership of their intellectual properties with the books, like Shamir was saying. They will get back the owner of their songs, of their scripts, of their poems. They no longer belongs to the middlemen. In Italy, we have a middleman which is called SIAE, which takes like 50% of the revenue of any song played, even in the elevator. So decentralized economy, it's here to stay. It's not like the bubble of the ICO. Even I do believe that the market will crash sooner or later. It can be like it's like Charlie was saying that Polkadot had made 150 eggs. It's okay. I was into with a small amount, but it can be go like this for all the 2021, 2022. It has to crash. But the thing that will not crash is the feeling that we can decentralize every kind of business and take back the ownership of what we created. There's a lot of companies like UShare that makes you be the owner of your data. You no longer have to share it with Google, with Facebook, with YouTube without earning a single penny. We will get back our on the ownership of ourselves, of what we distribute on the web. And the companies like Google, Facebook, and Amazon, I don't know what will happen, but it's Bitcoin is just the first thing. So we're seeing that JP Morgan has jumped into it. I can see from here that in Times Square, everything is blue for Coinbase IPO. I think they will not be destroyed by the decentralization. I think they will jump into it and make it less decentralized, because even totally decentralization, it will transform in a total mess. So it's the first time that I think a forum like this is discussing such a huge topic, both philosophical philosophical, I don't know how to pronounce that, both philosophical and economical, and it's really interesting. So I think we're going to face the biggest revolution we have ever seen in the last decades.
No, it is, and I think you made very good points there, because this is touching everyone. It's touching big players, small players, investment groups, and this actually probably is the biggest shift in the digital world as well, because we have in one end the centralized big players of Silicon Valley, and you have in one end all of this happening at the same time. So, Charlie, coming back to you, so you're working with two of the biggest blockchain platforms, Tezos and Polkadot, but you as well are in China, and you have a very big bridge between China and the rest of the world. And China in itself is the most advanced market digitally. Is as well the market that has taken probably blockchain more serious. So I would like to hear from your side, how do you see these bridges, and how you see as well the difference between first of all the explosive growth on these kind of areas, but as well in the end of the day, China as well is growth hacking is the same. It's just the platforms that are different, and the market is closer in some ways, open in others. So I would like to see how you make these bridges, and how you see this as well between the two worlds.
Yeah, thank you, Dinis. It's a very interesting question. A lot of people are struggling to get the answer because they look at the wrong perspective. So first of all, it's a very important question. A lot of people looking at the wrong angle. I have to emphasize again, the data market in China has been massive. We have 1.4 billion population in the whole country, right? Everybody has, on average, 1.2 or even almost 2 phones right now. The mobile penetration is one of the toppest in the world. Everybody using mobile payment every single day. It's a cashless society without even fiat needed, right? The paper print money is not really needed anymore. Everybody using multiple mobile payment platform. Also, we have the digital RMB, the M0 RMB with pure digital version coming out, right? Has been already established and have been utilized in multiple cities, especially in Shenzhen area. Having said that, all the digital economy hasn't just, I think it just started. I think we leapfrogged the Web 2.0 world. A lot of the SaaS-based PC, web-based applications was massively successful in Silicon Valley, right? There was a lot of like a Chinese version, copy to China type of project did that. But what we found out in the last 2 years, especially in the blockchain field, the reason that makes Polkadot and Tezos very interesting in Chinese ecosystem, because we have very interesting engineers who build really innovative blockchain applications. That has to be that, and a lot of them actually are very mobile driven. It's not just on the PC interface, right? We are very mobile driven. We leapfrogged a lot of Web 2.0 stage of things and going to the Web 3.0 applications. So I see that happening a lot in NFT space, in the decentralized finance space, on the blockchain-enabled application space. When I'm start to do the ecosystem building for Polkadot in China, I realize the gap is actually what was quite huge. It's not just a communication issue on the language and also the culture. It's more on the technology standard difference, right? We have the IPv6 standard that we try to push out. The majority of the Western countries still using IPv4 for different encryption. And now we try to standardize a lot of things for the mobile-based application, right? I think that's very important to look at as a developer, as a product owner, how to streamline the different standards between different countries, different ecosystem. I see that's happening and kind of more and more emerging, right? The people from China and building interesting stuff has pretty good adoption in the Western world, and also the other way around. I see a lot of interesting financial payment projects entering China with meaningful solutions providing. Whoever actually have the way to share a narrative well in the Chinese ecosystem, who can get the message across in the local way, can achieve a massive success. I see multiple companies, including Airbnb and also some other crypto-driven project and platforms such as Republic, are doing quite well in the last 2 or 3 years. Republic has been entering the space in the last couple of months as they've been successfully doing that. Polkadot, Tezos is relatively new, but I think Polkadot has been doing quite successfully in China especially with the engagement with developers. So back to your question, Dinis. It's a very challenging topic for a lot of Western countries. Majority of the companies, including Uber, they failed massively, right? But those kind of failures are really interesting use cases for a lot of entrepreneurs from, Europe, from America, or maybe from other Western countries who have the ambition to enter China, who has some interesting solution for the Chinese consumers. We have a very interesting buying power. We have a lot of demand for Western brands and so on, right? But how to get your message across and actually have a user-friendly way to interact with the user base, right? I think whoever can achieve that in an interesting way, they can do massive success. I see a lot of failures in the last 10 years. Majority of failures, they're being a bit too arrogant, especially I have to say that some of them from Silicon Valley, they think because they're from Silicon Valley, they can dominate the whole world. It's a wrong mindset. You have to, learn from the market, adopt yourself, change a bit on your branding message and approach, and also make the China way, the Asian way, not maybe just China, also the South Asian countries. I see lot of growth happening in Indonesia, in Singapore, in Thailand, right? Really interesting market. But a lot of Western brands didn't really adopt very well. I think they didn't achieve that much. So again, to your question, it's a huge difference in terms of culture, in terms of technology standard, in terms of the user behavior, right? I think at the end of the day, if you want to make a really kick-ass go-to-market strategy for this different ecosystem, you need to find the real good partners to work with. You need to understand not only just the marketing side, but also on the technology side, and adjust yourself very well. Keeping in mind, everybody in China still need to use VPN to connect with most of the Western, social media apps and so on. So you need to actually, install WeChat, Weibo, all kinds of Chinese version social media to even open up your communication. A lot of companies didn't even manage to do that well. So a lot of things you still need to taken care of. But again, to my point, the companies or the project and or founders who are able to do this well, I think they can achieve massive success.
Yeah, and I think definitely this is the two parts of the world that you're going to see more in the bridge between the two things. And it's quite impressive that you managed to work on both of them, because I think not a lot of people can make this bridge, and I think it's important to make this bridge. So I want to go to you, Noah, again. So Noah, you've been working a lot of massive campaigns, and as well, like you mentioned, you have the organic side. The organic side is very important to understand the basics, to put the foundations together, and you still need it more than ever. So can you tell us a bit about that?
Of course. When it comes to working organically, we really need to, like I mentioned before, understand the user. A lot of the marketing channels that we are used to working with are based on the targeting, and you start measuring your user flow in the funnel as soon as the user clicks on your ad, then they've been tagged. And then you understand who they are, and you can monitor them as they go through. With organic marketing, we try to get out even before that step. We try to find the audience base where they're talking about a specific topic, regardless of where they are, whether our audience is in China or whether they're in the US. They'll have a place where they're trying to understand more about the product they're about to purchase or the service they're about to use. And that's why it's very important to get into that space. And there are a number of ways that we try to do it. Content has always been a big friend. Getting the right content in front of those users at the right time is key. Another thing, though, is trust. And this comes back to the people. In order to have somebody come to your website, you have to give them a reason, or you have to have somebody explain why they should do it, preferably somebody they trust. Whereas in the past, you had bigger companies, and you would just rely on them, whether it was Microsoft or Google. If that's what they tell you to do, then that's what you do, because that's what will get you the client or the user or customer. But nowadays, it's a little bit different, and this is where the influencers come in. What the influencers are essentially saying is, I've tried this. It's a good tool. It's a good service. You should do it too, if this is what you're interested in. with regards to influencers, we've spoken about people who have a big following, and we've also spoken about influencers who have a smaller following, but their audience is more targeted. With regards to marketing, both of them are good depending on what stage of the strategy you're looking to go for, and also how you're able to receive that audience or that user when they arrive on your website. One of the things that we have today, which we didn't necessarily use in the past, is the data. Of course, SEOs and organic marketers are always hands deep in the data, going through the user acquisition process on the website. Now we have tools and machine learning algorithms that could actually sift through that information for you and identify the ideal user path within the website. If your goal is a sale, then you could identify what content you need or where you need to find your users in order to help them arrive to that point on your website. There are often different stages in the user experience that we try to target, where a user might come to the website and your goal might not be a sale. Your goal might be to retarget a user or bring them back to your website in order to benefit from that service. They might take a while to connect, to actually show interest, but in the end of the day, you do bring them back. And that's all done through different organic marketing methods, whether it's search, whether it's content, or whether it's through influencers.
Yeah, I think you made a very good holistic overview about the challenge of doing this. And I think very important thing as well, the different kind of communities, because you have small communities that are very effective, big communities that are really effective for volume, but as well, the influencers are keeping on adapting. And one of the questions I have, and I think I'll pass this probably for you, Parham, is that definitely Facebook and Google have been having the hegemony. I was talking actually with an industry professional under advertisement from one of the biggest agencies in the world. And he was saying that for each $100 spent in the world, probably 80% goes to Facebook and Google. So I think this is changing slowly because, of course, a lot of big brands prefer to go directly to influencers because it's much more affordable, first of all, and it's much more powerful. So one of the questions I have for you, Parham, is you've been working with very big influencers, especially probably bigger on Instagram, which is probably the fast-growing channel in the world. And for instance, even if you see, for instance, for the NFTs, Instagram right now is the biggest platform in terms of engagement. Is actually Instagram and Twitter, because Twitter is very powerful still. But how do you see this engagement, and as well replacing the Facebooks and the Googles for the influencers?
Parham, you're on mute.
Good point. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, perfect. This is actually it's an interesting topic. Social media and influencers are previously, if any social media came about, just like in Instagram, let's say, where it started growing, one of the giant tech companies like Facebook would just snatch them up, right? They would just buy it. But now that influencers are starting to do what they want on their own, and now the ads are a completely different story. I really think it's going to be difficult for giants like Google or Facebook to be able to buy one more of these companies and just stamp them with the monopoly that they really have. So I really see us going towards organic marketing, especially with all those ad monies being spent right now on social media and all the targeting every day becoming less and less accurate, because of course all those privacy matters are kicking into place. Really, we are moving more towards peer-to-peer advertisement. Is just, and I think that's just purely because of the factor of trust into other people. We were just talking about big social media influencers. However, it's really about the product that you have, and if you can't really hack your way to an amazing growth without getting your eyeball on the product or services. In fact, if you're just hiding in the corner of the internet, you won't find leads. Never mind customers or clients. So ads alone are not going to be any more the way to go forward. And therefore, I think there will be a lot of new platforms coming up. They might be very much so snatched by one of the giants, but it will be in a complete different fields, not just only on ad spend, because simply people need to get in front of their audience. And if their audience are 24/7 on social media, so should you be as a business or as an exchange, or if you're in a crypto field or NFT field. If the clients they love videos because they are constantly trading online, then you need to have your YouTube channels and understand your algorithm and your Instagram accounts and understand what they need, because people are not anymore they're reading on their magazine, or they're not reading on their traditional channels that they used to believe in because they believed in the publisher and anything that they said. Is there the amount of information being published right now is so diverse, coming from so many different channels, that people are becoming extremely selective. So you really need to understand what is it that you're putting in front of what type of audience. And for businesses, I believe they need to understand what is the next big thing in their industry, write articles about it, demonstrate that they're ahead of their game, do lots of target marketing, and just to be able to understand what type of client they're into. And once they get that data, that's the right time to go and find what type of influencer you want and what you want out of them. Because you may know what your product is from your perspective and the people in that company's perspective, but the target audience being able to match your product could be completely different. And you will only find that out by being able to match your product online with the current data for a certain amount of time, then let the machine learning and the AI take away. I am unable to hear you guys. Dennis?
No, I think we've
lost Dennis for a minute.
Yeah.
Okay.
But he will definitely be right back.
Totally. Shamir, would you like to continue the discussion?
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, Parham, I think that was a very interesting, thought process, right? So, I think one of the things that NFTs are doing is really giving value back to artists, right? And even possibly influencers. The challenge that they've had, be it music artists or, anyone literally, is that, they put up something, a piece of art, even music, and it's sold, and that's it. That's a one-time sale. And this is literally giving them the ability to continue generating royalties on their work, on the piece of work that they do. Do you see NFTs, possibly adding value to influencers?
100%. And I think us being able to, so NFTs are okay, they're not a new thing, but when it comes to, there's a huge hype about it. They're becoming very viral right now. But when it comes to influencers, it's still a new thing. Now, lots of artists, lots of musicians, actors, they are really getting into NFTs because they got the right people in the game telling them what to do. But standalone influencers are yet to adapt. And I believe once they do, they will be able to really take away the intermediary that they had to go through to be able to be known, right? Now you got that influencer who is on their own, and as soon as they get into millions, they will have an intermediary, because that intermediary is the right content to the right person to be able to get in touch with a lot of businesses to create content for. However, now you might not need that anymore, because with what's happening around the world, you don't really need to wait that long in order for someone to pick you up. You don't need an agency to pick you up anymore, thanks to NFTs, in my very humble opinion, because you have a copyright now. You have a patent to every single content that you create. You could be the Beyonce of the world of music, or you could be as little as someone who creates really cool content that is not discovered by people. Therefore, nobody really picks you up as an agency or as a record label. And we've seen it happen before in traditional businesses, like where Uber came about and took the Road and Transport Authority away, and they were no longer were able to take a massive chunk to provide services, or was it services, or maybe just a monopoly? So lots of monopolies or companies that have massive influence over the people who create content and generate all sort of art and really artists, I believe, are going to be slowly disappearing if NFT is going to stick around, which I think it will. However, I think we're going to have a lot of agency again trying to put their hands on NFT, just like people did when the whole decentralization of money came about. So lots of people tried to get on it, try to somehow, put their hand on it. So it will happen with NFTs, a very normal thing. But as the whole industry grows, hopefully the same situation of decentralization will happen and will remain. So people can really bank on their creativity.
Yeah, it's a very good point. Sorry, guys. I'm in central London, but my internet crashed on my route or whatever.
No.
So I think, Pelumi, you have a community that is quite young and in Africa. How do you see these things from your side?
From our side, I think so. Some of the technology that we're talking about are not 100% new, and because it's a budding market, it's a growing market. A lot of people are now moving into it, and you've got to realize that as much as possible, because the population is generally young, more people are beginning to pick up this tech and make the best use of it. So, for example, we have creators who are trying to reach global audiences, right from Africa. We've got people who are building platforms that are trying to reach global audiences, and some of these things help them to reach the audience that they're targeting. So, for example, I'm not sure that they're really going to find a lot of buyers for their creation if they put it on NFT. But in putting it there, they have access to people from all over the world who are more interested in making the purchase for their creation. And with respect to gamification, as much as possible, marketing processes here are still making the move from traditional into digital, and it's an uphill task because a lot of people are used to culture, traditions, and a whole lot of differences. So, for example, I was shortly before this event, I was having a discussion with my wealth manager, and we're talking about the difference in the processes for stock exchanges and companies, right? So I have shares in Facebook, I have shares in Netflix, and then I also have shares in Nigerian companies here. Now, I voted on decisions to be made for those shares in the US, and then without having ever seen the company in real time, I just go there, they send me the email, I go to the pages, I fill the forms, and move on. To do that here in Nigeria, they send me a form which I have to print out, fill, upload back, and then send via post to them. So you find out that you're battling seriously with what the old guard is used to, and that's one thing which I'm happy for, that the younger people are seeing that all of this shouldn't be stressful, all of this shouldn't cause that much of a trouble. So everyone was building, especially younger people, were building platforms for global audiences, even from the continent, tend to then look at it with a different set of eyeballs, where this thing shouldn't be as hard as you're making it seem. About 5-10 years back, if you wanted to set up an e-commerce company in Nigeria, you had to pay about 150,000 naira to get access to a payment gateway, right? Now, we have companies like Paystack and Flutterwave who make that available to you for free, and then they just charge commission on transactions. So you realize that with everything that the younger people are building, they're trying to make the process better, seamless, more up to global standard. And with that, the older guard is fighting back. We've had issues where the CBN wakes up one morning and says, you know what, let's face out cryptocurrency, and if you're found trading with crypto with your bank account, they block it. So it's a constant fight between the old and the new, but as much as possible, we were trying to push back and say, you know what, this is the way things are done now. It's not an easy battle because they're still largely the ones in charge of policies, in charge of regulations, which is one of the things where we're trying to then see how we can make the best of it. So, for example, in terms of policies, now we're saying, why don't we have people who can make policies, who are in position to add to the policies being made, instead of just building and then wake up one day and the policy has been changed overnight. And when I mean overnight, I mean literally overnight. So late last week, we woke up to find out that third-party companies can no longer do verification via BVN, and you have to then do it via NIN. That single policy change that was done overnight affected almost every fintech company in the country, and most people had to shut down whatever campaigns they were working on to focus on doing verification via NIN. It's a big issue, but constantly we keep looking for ways to move beyond it, and that's part of where growth hacking comes for us, because we realize that our market is quite unique. Bless you, Dinis. Because we realize that our market is quite unique in terms of audience, in terms of the realities on ground. The way we mostly go about growing our user base usually is quite different. So to a large extent, there are cities that if you're trying to do a digital campaign, you really wouldn't you really get a lot of people coming in, because the population size that is digital savvy is quite small compared to what you're trying to reach. I tell people that forget the numbers that you see online about Nigeria having about 100 million connected users. A lot of people have more than 2 phone lines, and of course that means 2 connected users. So by the time you break that down further, you realize that the population that most people are looking at is really, really quite small, especially when they try to come into the country to start businesses. So you have to look at how can you merge the traditional way of doing things and merge that with the new way of running campaigns. So you can talk about doing, for example, a mobility brand did a treasure hunt across a city called Ibadan in Nigeria during the Easter weekend, where you had to go to physical places, even though you had to register online to get details about, and all the clues, everything came online, but you had to go physically to specific places to win. So it's looking at different ways to say this is what these people are used to, this is what the audience is used to, but these are the new technologies that are coming in on board, and these are the ways that we're trying to find how to find a middle ground between implementing them and getting the best of both worlds to ensure that we're communicating the right way to our audience, and then we're also getting them on board to ensure that we're not losing and leaving people behind.
Very good points, and I think you touched one of the critical elements of the world we live in, because in one end we have legacy systems and new technologies. We have as well old ways of seeing things, which is still a lot of main ways of seeing things. And then we have as well the different worlds of China, Europe, with different regulation. And as well, we have the emerging markets where we are, which is, of course, you are in a fast-growing country, one of the fast-growing countries in the world, and you still have to go through all this challenge. But I think the point is that a lot of startups are becoming multi-billion dollars, passing all of this. And I think this is a challenge we have, and that is where the gamification growth hacking works, because a lot of companies are much faster than governments and taking over entire chunks of the world economy. And that is going to be probably a big challenge that you're going to have, but as well an opportunity. So I think we have some questions from the audience, and I want to pass that to our panelists. So one of the things that we have here from Amotayo Sobayu, thank you so much for your question, is apparently to sell successfully using NFTs, I believe it requires a thriving community, especially for creators. How will you advise new creators grow hack their way to building a community? I think this is I pass this to the audience. I don't know who wants to answer, but it's a good question, because that is exactly the way we did this panel, and it touched the elements that you cannot do NFTs without having a community. Well, you can do it, but you're going to have probably failure. So that means the technology and all the advances of NFTs will need even more growth hacking and even more strong digital communities and people like us working with them and working together, because there's a lot of different areas of expertise that even the ones that are more experts cannot get it. I don't know if you want to touch, anyone wants to touch these, or Parham or Noah or Charlie or Pelumi or even Shamir. I know Shamir more on the technology side, but it's important as well.
I think one of the key elements here, and just to add a quick note before somebody else answers this question in depth, is really getting the people on your side, getting their trust. because if you have the right audience interested in your NFT or in the service that you're providing, that would essentially help build up the following investors. We mentioned before what the NFT could do for a creator, but now we could talk about what an influencer essentially could do for an NFT. An influencer meaning a person, a friend, or somebody who has a following, or somebody who's part of a community. So they could essentially help grow your product and grow your service. I think the question is, how do you get in front of that specific influencer or that person himself?
Yeah, and to add on to what Noah said, I think especially I'm just repeating myself. We're going to see a lot of new platforms come out there. The number of assets are just going to quadruple over the next couple of months. All of them might look beautiful, dandy, very interesting, unique assets come out there as well. But at the end of the day, people are going to start looking at what is the true value behind the asset. Who is the creator of the asset? Is there a team behind it? Is there some story behind the actual asset that's actually being launched? And then you'll start seeing, just like a typical ICO project, if you can build influential communities or brand ambassadors for the assets as well. So very interesting projects are coming out there where there's some business backing the asset. It's linked to some sort of a business model, or it's actually linked to another physical asset as well. So even in digital art and physical art, so the physical art may in some cases be destroyed and you just have the digital art. Sometimes it's actually representative of the physical art as well. So there are different business models around this. So we have galleries as well. Galleries are coming out with their own online digital asset or an NFT marketplace just exclusively for them. So you have the NBA as well. So there are different sort of artists coming out. So I think it's all about how you can actually garner and bring in the right audience and growth hack your way and get to the right communities.
Completely. Parham, do you want to give your input on this? Because I think this is an important thing as well. Because I think definitely, I think there's the hype around the communities and about the NFTs. And one of the things I found out as well in a lot of and I think this for you as well, Charlie, is that a lot of the success of a lot of ICOs were based on communities of investors joining efforts and really speculating around the token because they know they will make money. In the case of the NFTs, the difference is that you actually effectively are buying a product. Whereas in the ICO and most of the crypto, you're speculating. Here, you can actually get a print or you can get a digital asset that will stay with you. So that means there's a big difference. And I think this will empower a lot of influencers, will empower a lot of things. And I think the NFT trend will just create much more possibilities for digital artists, for influencers, for musicians, for filmmakers, but as well for a lot of other people. Because in the end of the day, the challenge is that, okay, one thing is to buy something that is a speculation around the concept that is managed by a community. The other thing is buying something that effectively is on, or at least that is an asset of someone. For instance, I think the example of Weekend, the musician, which is one of the biggest artists in the planet selling NFTs, is a great example because you can actually effectively buy an official Weekend photography for $600, which is, of course, still an amount, but it's affordable. Bear in mind that you're buying an original from someone. And I think this will make a big revolution in a lot of ways because, like you said before, the decentralization is that an artist doesn't need a publishing house. He can actually sell it directly. And as well, it doesn't need to go through like 10 different kinds of certificates because it might be spammed because it's actually selling it in a platform. So it doesn't lose his reputation and so forth. So I would like to touch this, and we are actually in the last 15, 20 minutes, but I would like to touch some of these areas. I don't know, Charlie, you want to start, or Parham?
Yeah, my browser just keeps on loading. For me, it's getting a bit glitchy, but I don't know if you guys can hear me clearly, or if it's glitchy on your side as well. Can you hear me clearly? All right, perfect. So there's something wrong with my browser. Okay. So when it comes to NFTs, it's really two ways to really look at it. If just to follow up the question that came from one of your audience, how to get in front of the investors is really to understand who is it that what kind of art it is that you're producing, what kind of content it is, and who you are trying to get in front of. Because again, this is just literally just like a normal art. It's just a traditional print or a painting or art. So is it an investor who's looking into this to make money, or is it a collectible? And if we do understand what it is that we are trying to collect, it's really not any different than traditional methods of trying to sell something. It's either backed by a really big number of followings or people that believe in the product, be it traditional or backed by NFT, either way, or is it that you want to tell a story? So either way, it doesn't really make a difference. You just mentioned Weekend, and anything that Weekend wants to sell, be it NFT or be it physical, it's gonna sell because of hitting both the factors. If it's good for an investor who just wants to flip this, it's good for a collector. But the only reason that the prices are so much higher previously on products and tangible assets is just because it's so much more difficult to produce. And now when it's digital, you can have multiple copies just with a different variation of the same, and you're able to, since you already have the virality factor into it, you're really able to just put it in front of a huge audience. Now, if it wasn't for the name that has a virality effect to it, in my belief, it could just have a story to it, just the same way that you would sell some sort of an art because it creates a hype by it having its story. If we look at the NFT world now and the people who are going really viral about it really is backed mostly by the story and how much they were able to sell their art. And that is what gave it the virality factor, because now people who didn't even know what NFT is started looking into all these artists. The more click rates they got, the more little arts that these people could afford to buy as little as $100 or $200 gave these people that viral effect, and numbers really started to go on top of each other, and it was the story that driven them. It wasn't necessarily the popularity factor. And I think that has been always applicable to traditional artists, and it will be the same thing in the NFT field as well. So if you really want to get in front of an audience, you've got to have either option A or B.
Very good points, and I think you're completely right, because I think the way the product, the way we engage with the audience, there's a lot of different things, and I think, like Noah mentioned before, you have products that can be sold to big audiences, but products that can be sold to small audiences, and I think it's the way you build this. But one of the things, and probably for the last 10 minutes, and thank you for all the people listening to us around the world. We still have around 340 people listening to us directly on YouTube. One of the things that I'm particularly interested to ask to you guys is, I think for me, what I see the biggest disruption, even for me, is building a YouTube channel. It's very expensive, okay? The millions of views that we have here doesn't come for free. There's a lot of work, there's a lot of people, there's a lot of expertise, and Google is always changing the algorithm. But for instance, one of the things that for me, I find very, very awkward is that although Google and Facebook are the biggest platforms in the world, at least in the Western world, for this kind of influences and for the growth hacking, let's put it that way. I'm sorry, they have zero interaction with influencers. They're terrible on social media, and they don't care. They really don't care. I think this is something, although we're using YouTube, it's obvious that YouTube doesn't care. No one in management of YouTube even has some followers to engage with social media. So I think the challenge is they are being disrupted as we speak. How do you see this? Because, Charles, you are an investor as well. I think Polkadot or Tezos is going to be creating, sorry, I'm with an attack, but I think this is really going to be, I would say in 1 year or two, we might have a platform as big as YouTube or Facebook coming. I want to best this to your audience. Sorry guys, I don't know if someone wants to pick on this. I think this is for me the biggest challenge, but the biggest opportunity.
Okay. So like you rightly said, building a YouTube channel is hard work, but I think it's going to take a while for real challenger platforms, because one thing that the platforms currently give everybody, which all the platforms will have to fight for, is a ready audience. And ready audience in the sense that if you upload a video on YouTube, if you optimize the description and the title, you most likely will find someone who is willing to watch it. If you do that on, say, Vimeo, for example, it's going to take a while for your video to get noticed. So because of the audience that we already have waiting, where people will naturally go to, I mean, everybody sees YouTube as a rabbit hole. You start for one video, and the next thing you've spent the next 30 minutes watching, videos that you never even knew could possibly exist on YouTube. And because it's that rabbit hole feeling plus the waiting audience is why it would take a lot for a real challenger platform to come on board. You're really going to have to fight for the audience. You're going to have to fight for the algorithm as well. You're going to fight for the eyeballs, and then of course you're also going to fight for server stability. The things that platforms like YouTube, which I think Netflix also did, giving everybody the ability to watch video at the bandwidth that they can afford, is not something that a challenger platform is going to get easily. It's going to take a lot of raw power. It's going to take a lot of money. So I think it's still going to take a while for that to happen. But if it does happen, the best thing that such a platform should do is focus on the creators better than what YouTube is currently doing. I know that they try to do that from time to time, have initiatives like Black Creators, end of the year, rewind videos where they involve the creators and all that, but they have to take real interest in ensuring that creators who put their videos on the platform get paid for it. It's the major thing that is lacking on the platform at the moment. And if once they're able to solve that, they essentially would have it covered. But as far as getting an alternative platform at the moment, it's still going to take a while because you have to solve all these problems I listed.
If I want to take on this a bit, to follow up what Pelumi just said, I invest in a project called Mass Network. They have a very interesting Web3 solution that built our encryption add-on on Chrome. And one of the main vision they did is to building the bridge between the Web 2.0 and Web 3.0. So a lot of people can argue, right? A lot of the existing centralized, mega platform has been very centralized. Some of them are not really treating their influencer or content provider fairly, or not in a very ideal democratic way, right? So there's always a topic of, should we build a new platform to revolutionize the existing big ones, or we try to make an interesting improve the version or add on to add some kind of interesting feature on top of that, right?
Okay.
I think we lost Charlie. No. I think as the last
That
part,
existing platform.
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah, I think it was just me, or there was a delay. But continue, Charlie. Finish your thought.
I was saying, because I see so many people wants to build platforms, especially in the NFT space, right? I got like pitch decks, 2 or 3 pitch decks a day, who wants to build a platform per se, right? There's always a problem. I'm kind of I want to ask the founders: do you have a way to build the network effect, right? The variety is always difficult. Some people have the assumption that if you have a good solution, the traffic will come by nature. It's not always the case. Most likely, it will be the opposite. A lot of features can be built upon the existing platform. The one of the interesting principle in growth hacking is using other people's network, right? So Airbnb was piggyback a lot of traffic from Craigslist, right? There's a lot of other growth story. A lot of big platforms was built upon others or so on, right? They had interesting tactics, but also the solutions, it was so unique. You have to actually use that one. So I think all those decentralized Web3 type of platform is not going to be just build another one and with a new branding, because we are Web3, everybody can follow that, right? It's a bit different. So I will see a lot of interesting little toolkit will be built on top of the Web 2.0 platforms, like an add-on. like a plugin or maybe an API or maybe SDK to expand into a new version, right? With that, people will realize there's an interesting incentive layer with token, with new kind of governance structure, that it will be more fair, more democratic, more optimal version, more optimal solution to incentivize the content provider, to make the IP more transparent and so on and so forth, right? It's not just be like, okay, let's just bring all the people to the other platform because that platform is easy to use. The initial of user behavior moving from one platform to the other, re-register everything and so on. It's exactly the point of how Web3 should solve, right? You have so many platforms, you need to go through all the KYC, all the registration, and so on. It's just so time consuming and tedious, right? So I think in a lot of Web3 type of solutions in blockchain, not just blockchain, AI as well, you need to think about how to make it easier, plug and play, safer, more privacy protected, all that, which makes the user don't need to go through the whole thing. And if you repeat the, a lot of platform founder wants to repeat a lot of Web 2.0 platforms, the story. Like I just start something small. I have my interesting, sneaky way to grow the users. I can keep doing that until 1 billion users, something like that. It's always a moonshot way of thinking. It's a very bold assumption. Very few people will actually achieve that. So I always argue that to disrupt the existing platform is not just build another platform and have the assumption everybody will move to you by default, right? I will always kind of challenge that and say, what is the solution that actually can make your platform so unique, right? It's not just about having assumption moving people to yours, but also but more on the face, like your solution is so unique that even your platform is like the layer 2 of the existing ones. That's already very meaningful and helpful. And once you're getting bigger and bigger, you build your network effect. People cannot live without you, right? And then you become real platform.
Very good points. And I think that shows as well the importance of to build a community and how to bridge all the different things, because effectively these platforms, of course, have a massive amount of work behind it and technology and support.
Right.
So I think as the last part, and we still have more audience coming right now, so we're 550 people, but well, I would suggest, just as a wrap up, because we've been here for 1 hour now, but I'd like to touch probably with each of you, probably Shamir from your side on the technology side. So how do you see the NFT part? Because like you mentioned, the revolution is going to be much bigger and we're going to have more and more things happening on this level. Probably Pelumi, from the perspective of what you see in terms of the communities and as well the work you're trying to do with the DigiClan, and Parham in terms of your work of influencer marketing, because of course, like what Charlie said, is that at the end of the day, if the influencers are happy or if the people that use the internet feel that their value is correct, they will keep in the platforms. And I think that's partly something we need to work to educate both governments and organizations and platforms to find a balance and a value for everyone. And know as well from your work on the day-to-day, how do you see the practical things? Because in the end of the day, everyone has to deal with this. Me as in my YouTube channel, me as a CEO, all of you guys in different things, we have to be a continuous work, continuous learning. And I think that's the part of growth hacking. Growth hacking and gamification imply a continuation of learning growth techniques and continue growing, but as well keeping on learning. Gamification is a huge component of, okay, if you do this, you win. If you do this, you lose. So you have to learn how to avoid that. So I would like to pass this last part for each of you. And if there's any more questions in all this, we can ask, but I would like to touch this.
Yeah, thank you, Dinis. So just to talk about, the NFT space, we're building, marketplaces backed off of, our tried and tested secure model, which is a coin factory platform. And one of the things that we've seen specifically in the NFT marketplace is a high emphasis on security, especially now that, we're seeing a lot of hacks, cyber attacks on some marketplaces. This is becoming very paramount. In addition to that, I think what would define as a success for different marketplaces these days is, what really drives that particular audience. Is it niche? Is it focused on a specific kind of portfolio? So some are just focused on generic media. It could be physical art, digital art. Some are very niche, like we have one which is focused on artists' clippings. So it could be something like an influencer media. Book publishing is another one. There's some very niche marketplaces coming up which are focused on virtual lands like Decentraland and few others. So it's very interesting to see the newer business models come about. So one of the most exciting things is obviously the royalty. So we've seen fractional ownership. What is more interesting is the sell-on clauses that are coming on from these marketplaces as well. So I'm really excited about what's yet to come. I think the next 18 to 19 months is what's really going to define the core tech and the consumer behavior around the NFTs, and not just the valuations that we're seeing. The valuations will probably dwindle down. The absurd numbers that we've seen, 60 million and 70 million, may not be there, but it'll definitely build the overall industry per se, is what I really feel.
Thank you. Noah.
Right. So I think from a practical perspective on the day-to-day, somebody looking to promote their NFTs or to launch a new concept, I think the main idea is really to go broad, because at the moment nobody really knows what's going to bring value back to their NFT. Use data on an ongoing basis to evaluate if the action that you've done, the growth hack that you've just started, is showing results, it's providing value. And if you see that it is, keep on working in that direction. Don't stop. Don't put all your eggs in one basket, because in such a dynamic field, what's working now might not work later. So always have a plan B or another strategy ready to kick off. I think that's the practical way to move forward with marketing. You might have a paid strategy behind promoting your NFT, or working organically through content and influencers. That's always another option. But it's important to always measure, test, optimize, and then keep on going. And I think that's how NFT owners will essentially grow their visibility and bring new investors to their product.
Very wise words. Pelumi.
I think for me, one thing that I've realized that a lot of people do is expect that all the implementation of all of this new tech would show a big jump the moment they start implementing, and that can be further from the truth. I think one thing that people need to realize is, as you're implementing, as you're looking at all of those things, you need to focus on moving the needle as much as possible. But don't expect that the changes are going to be instant and then they're going to be huge. You have to keep an eye on the smaller things that are changing, the little optimizations that you do, such that when you then put all of that together, you get a big win. But if you're looking at the big win from the get-go, you probably won't move as fast as it should. But you tweak one thing here, you change one thing there, you build a small community there. You add a gamification effect in your acquisition channel, and then by the time you put everything together, then you realize that you've actually done quite a lot, and you'll be seeing the results. But expect that one single thing that you do is going to bring a very huge change should not be the case, So, and I think if people start looking at it from that angle, it will be easier to adopt this new tech, and then of course be able to figure out ways to implement so that you can get wins for the longer term rather than short-term gains.
Good points as well. So, Parham.
So I believe NFTs are still a very, very new thing for the majority of people. I think we are very close to the whole scene of NFTs, and for us, the growth has been really big. So we see the virality factor in between the people that we know and the communities that we're close with. However, I think NFTs are something that are not in any way or form familiar to hundreds of millions, if not billions, of people at the moment. And those are usually majority of the people that don't really ride the first wave of anything because of skeptics. They're just skeptical. Therefore, for platforms especially, if they really want to drive traffic, just like Charlie was speaking, I believe they need to have some sort of a backing. Just because they have a platform, it's not going to be the one that everyone's going to use. But if you can really tap into, just we were talking about growth hacking, and if you can really bring the power of influencers or people with influence towards a platform for all the people that they do have the skepticism and they don't really ride the first wave, the best way to get people into a platform or into things that they haven't believed in previously, in this case, be it NFT, is peer-to-peer push or word of mouth, because that already comes with some sort of trust, because you already know the person, or somehow you follow their life and you have built a trust into what they say. So I really think for platforms to tap into these type of marketing and to build some sort of an influence around it, rather than trying to build a platform and really go with traditional marketings or any of those ads, etc. It's gonna really be able to help you to growth hack and really cut the road much shorter and probably much cheaper. Dinis, I cannot hear you. I think you're on mute.
I get the same mistake. Thank you so much, Parham. I think it's been fantastic. Charlie, the last one, and I think you make the bridge between the Western world and the Chinese world, which is, I think this border should not appear, because innovation will be 10 times faster. But that's what it is. And I think it shows as well the challenge that we have in terms of, I think, geolocation and geopolitics, which I think are going to be probably be bigger going forward. But you actually are a very fantastic bridge. So I would like to hear your final thoughts on this, because I think it's interesting, because you've been keeping the two worlds related and bridged in a good way.
Thank you. Yeah, I think I'm trying my best, right? I think having looked at all if we kind of trying to wrap up what's interesting for NFT on my perspective is the unique element of getting a lot of emotional feelings from the investment. So if you look at a lot of NFT assets or NFT the assets, like the Top Shot collectible or art stuff, you're not talking about just speculation. We're talking about real love here. We're talking about emotion, the true fan base trying to support the celebrity or their idol or kind of things they like, they salute. That's actually the emotional, foundational value, right? You can't really say it's meaningless. It's actually a lot of value behind it, right? The support from the community is actually huge. Those kind of people buy the NFT, purchase NFTs, not just for the sake of making 10x, right? It's kind of different compared to some original just token ICO thing. A lot of them just pump in because they think this can go moon, right? It's a very speculative gamble type of mindset. Right now for NFT, many NFT stuff I feel is really about culture. It's about emotional value, right? And of course, we need to think about the utility. What's the utility behind it, right? So if you design that well, it's an interesting value behind it. It's not just another speculative vehicle, right? But keep in mind, the people who still have more like financial investment-driven approach of doing investment in NFT, when they think about all the emotional fan base, right, who wants to line up to get to the auction for new NFT, for the Top Shot, maybe for the movie NFT, musician NFT, or some other stuff, they will think about, okay, if we start to get in, we provide some extra liquidity, or maybe we get lucky to win the bid, because of support from the community is so big. It's kind of getting extra demand on that, right? So I think that will make the NFT even more excited. Bringing, that's also a lot of project wants to kind of connect the DeFi, decentralized finance, with NFT, right? You try to provide more liquidity for the NFT market. So I think that's an interesting way to look at it, in the rational way and also the emotional way. I mean, I bought a lot of NFT stuff for the sake of support for some of my idol, for the football. I'm a football fan, right? I made my investment I wrote a quite huge check size for Chili's, one of the projects that support enabled some soccer, football, fan-based platform. The reason I did that because I'm a Juventus fan. They have some Juventus token, JUV, right? That's a kind of governance token. You get a chance to vote what's the next football player, they want to choose for the next season, things like that. So if you're not a football fan, you don't have the emotional feeling of that, you probably don't care. You don't want to purchase that, right? But when people getting more and more like that, I'm pretty sure there will be at least 20% of people among the football fans will have the investment approach mindset, right? Because there's a huge audience. Let's get in because the growth potential is quite high. I think these kind of two groups were mingling together in the NFT space. In the DeFi, you barely find the emotional investment. Most of them like it because they think there's interesting, fundamentals behind it, but also there's an opportunity to do some momentum trading, so on and so forth, right? A lot of investors in the DeFi space are very rational, very scientific. But now in the NFT space, things are getting more liberal art or emotional. That makes things even more interesting, more, I don't know how to say that. It's like not just engineers or nerds are doing this stuff right now. Like you have a lot of artists, people who have emotional feelings in the space. So it make the ecosystem more vibrant, more dynamic, and more diversified. That makes me feel also very excited as well.
Very good point of finishing and wrapping up on the emotional side of this, because I think this is a very emotional game as well, but as well, there's a massive opportunity here. So I want to thank everyone listening to us around the world. We got to the peak around 550 people, so thank you everyone listening. This is a very hardcore topic. It's not so mainstream for everyone. We touch a lot of very complicated things from technology to NFTs, blockchain, AI. But I think we have an opportunity here. Like I think all of you fantastically put it. This is a great opportunity. It's an opportunity for the ones that lead the waves, but as well the ones that know how to use this. And I think, like it was put as well, there's a lot of basics that have to be put in place. So growth hacking, it's about preparation, it's about hard work, like Noah said, and making sure that it goes as well about the people, about the engagement. And I think picking from the influencer marketing, Parham, thank you so much, and Pelumi for DigiClan, and Shamir as well, the work you're doing on NFTs. I'm quite excited because you're picking all of these things, and Charlie, you are investing and you are doing fantastic work as well, because you are as well growth hacking in a lot of your work. So I think all of us are trying to do this because it's bridging, is trying to create things that create value both for us and for the people around us, but as well about what makes us be prepared for the next day. Definitely, there's a fantastic ride for everyone that is in these areas, that are in these areas, and I believe that the opportunity is massive because we just started. So thank you so much for all of you in the different time zones. I know that Parham and Charles is quite late for you guys. Pelumi, all the best over there in Nigeria. I know that you guys have a lot of changes. And Shamir, thank you so much for over there in Dubai. And Noah, thank you as well for your participation from Israel as well a bit later. So all the best for everyone, and thank you for everyone listening to me from all over the world. Cheers.
All right. Bye,
Thank you.
everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Dinis.
Thank you, Dinis.
Thank you.